Hi everybody, let's talk about non-permanent transformations. And the first non-permanent kind of transformation that we want to make are with adjustment layers, which I think everyone's had some experience with, but let's just go over again. There's an actual panel that addresses the adjustment layers with these little icons so that you can bring them up very easily in your layer stack. You can also access them by coming over here to the bottom of the layer panel, clicking on this like half circle, and then selecting which of the adjustment layers you would like to use. An adjustment layer is always going to appear above whatever layer you have selected. In this case, Jacket 4 and Jacket 3 were in the prior video about making permanent changes to pixel layers. Jacket 2 here will be the layer that we use to make some corrections without making any kind of permanent changes. All right. To make things more visible, let me go ahead and transform this down a little bit so that it sits on the actual space in a more dramatic way, and we can see the edges. And we can see some of the effects of our adjustment layers in relationship to the layer stack and ordering, which will be an important thing to think about. To get a nice bold kind of action, let's go ahead and open an adjustment layer like invert so that we're inverting the colors. We've opened the adjustment layer here. It is really a set of instructions held as a layer inside the layer stack. Right now, it is affecting all of the layers beneath it. You can see that it is affecting both Jacket 2 and Lake 1 here. It is not affecting, of course, Jacket 3 and Jacket 4 or Jacket 1 because those are off. But if I turn Jacket 2 on or I turn Jacket 4 on, we can see that those are not affected by the inversion. Okay, and the reason for that is because they are above the instruction set, and so they are not affected. Okay, all right, let's turn that off. Let's go back to this. If I want this invert, though, to only affect this particular layer, then what I need to do is I need to have it positioned above the pixel layer itself. I need to come into its properties, which I will access by just simply clicking on it, not on the mask here, but on it. Properties panel opens up. Because it's invert, there's not really any options here, but there are some actions that I can take in relationship to the layer itself. And the one that I'm most interested in here is this right here, which is called a clip. When I engage the clip, it instructs Photoshop to apply this adjustment layer directly to the first available pixel layer in the stack beneath it. In this case, that's Jacket 2. And as you can see, the inversion is only applied to the Jacket 2 image. Okay, it no longer affects Lake 1. If I turn that off, like that, then both are affected. Clipping your adjustment layer to a pixel layer can be a great way to non-permanently change a particular layer of pixel information. The reason that it's not permanent is that I can always come back no matter what circumstance. I can come back here to this because it's in the layer stack, and I can grab it and I can throw it away by dragging it to the trash, or I can turn it off so I can see what its effect is like as on or off. Or if it's an adjustment layer that has the ability to make different types of actions within it, I can go in and change it. Let's do that. Let's open up another adjustment layer, one that allows us to have some actions and transform some things. So I will come to my adjustment layers here, and we'll choose something easy like curves. In the properties panel, the curve actually opens up. And so these are my choices with the curves. Right now, you can see it's not clipped. So anything that I do is going to affect all of the layers underneath it. So as I like make this kind of like contrast to your image, you can see that it affects the layer Jacket 2 and it affects Lake. Jacket 2 has the bonus of also having the inversion, so the inverted Jacket 2 is actually receiving the action of the curve as well as the lake. If I were to turn off Jacket 2, you can see that the layer that is clipped to it also grays out because it's not there. And I can then look at the lake and see that this curve is really affecting both the contrast and the saturation. Let me go ahead and turn that back on by going to Jacket 2 and clicking on the eyeball. Now, if I link this by clipping it, by going up to my properties panel and then clipping that curve, you can see that the curve is applied to the first available pixel layer beneath it, which is Lake Jacket 2, and it releases the transformation on Lake 1, and Lake 1 returns to normal. If I turn off Jacket 2, you can see that Curve 1 and Invert 1 also go gray because they're no longer active because they're clipped to Jacket 2. They're only active when Jacket 2 is on. Okay, that hopefully gives you an idea about how the layer stack and adjustment layers can be used in Photoshop to make transformations to pixel layers. One last thing, and I just realized I forgot to mention this, is that because these are non-destructive actions, I can go to curves again and I can change the action that I made. I can make it more dramatic, or I can change it in some way. I can leave this, go do other things, go to other parts of the image, work with it, but then come back, click on it again and say like, all right, I'm going to adjust that and adjust this and go back to my previous state, etc., etc. Ad infinitum, because it does not matter where the history is at. It does not matter whether or not I save the file or reopen the file. What matters is that the instructions are saved as a actual layer that can be manipulated as such. Okay, next video we'll talk about some other things, but there you go.